Impulse NGO Network, a Meghalaya-based global organization that addresses issues such as unsafe migration, exploitation, and human trafficking, held a workshop in Sikkim's Gangtok from November 8 to 11. Centered on the theme Strengthening Media and Legal Responses to Human Trafficking in India, the 3-day workshop was a part of the Impulse Model Press Lab initiative that brought together journalists and lawyers under one roof. Speaking to EastMojo, founder of Impulse NGO Network, Hasina Kharbih, highlighted that one of the key components of the workshop was to encourage journalists and lawyers to collaborate in the fight against human trafficking while also understanding the legal complexities that follow reporting.
So this 3 days workshop that is being held here in Sikkim, bringing together journalists from the 8 states of the Northeast and the lawyers from the 8 states of the Northeast who are actually part of the Impulse Case Management Center, was to evolve in terms of how both the lawyers and the journalists can strengthen in-depth reporting as we have taken forward in 2018, where the Impulse Model Press Lab was launched officially and the first fellowship was actually introduced. During that period, the learning lesson from the first group of fellows is that legal understanding and legal growth is a process for the journalists. And if we have to have solid in-depth reporting, then the law has to be understood all through. At the same time, if you're looking at the 3 days, how it has evolved, and it's also a great learning for me and the entire team, is that lawyers can also take up cases from the report that journalists has brought forward in terms of providing human rights support to the people who are affected by human trafficking. But we also want to look at the larger picture, that human trafficking is just not about rescue operation, source, transit and destination. We want to look at the overall arc of what Impulse model has actually emerged in the last 25 years, that climate impact is also one component which is a push factor to human trafficking. Looking at the supply chain element, that's also the business component, which actually is we have a lot of child labor engaged in the whole supply chain. We want to also look at the interlink of the cross-border, because if we are looking at Impulse working in Southeast Asia and we also have in Central Asia, we are sharing these borders with all the countries, whether it's Myanmar, Bangladesh, China and Bhutan, and also the chicken neck to Nepal. We have to understand that these borders are also transit point of human trafficking. They are also very, very sensitive to climate impact. And we have seen many kind of climate impact, whether floods in Assam, we have seen the recent floods in Nepal, we have seen the fact that what's happening with Myanmar at the moment, there has been a push factor of unsafe migration. The vulnerability is growing. So we want to go beyond looking at just one component of reporting on human trafficking, but going in depth. So the combination of bringing lawyers and journalists together is going to help them to co-create a better, impactful stories, which also have the legal lens that applies in terms of looking after the after follow-up of each of these cases.
The Impulse Model Press Lab is also set to announce the second fellowship that promotes cross-border collaboration on human trafficking stories, with participation open to fellows from India, Nepal and Myanmar. This time, however, the fellowship aims to include journalists from Bangladesh and Thailand as well.
So earlier, when we had launched the first phase of the fellowship, it was actually opening up application for fellowship from 3 countries, which is India, Nepal and Myanmar, where we were supposed to expand it to Bangladesh, but the COVID had, in fact, paused us to the next level. That was, we had selected fellows, I would say, through application, through the process of application, through the pitch stories, and and it went about for a training program. But we realized that doing the vice versa, let's train first, let's open their eyes to what is human trafficking, what is the larger impact. Let's have them to understand the lawyers component, the law component, and then the next phase is their passion will count to us. Their passion is something very important for the fellowship. So when we open the fellowship, the expectation of those young journalists who have come all together from the Northeast with all the 3 days, very intensive knowledge that has been brought together by very resourceful people with lots of experiences, can help them to pitch better stories. But we want to see that after this workshop, we don't want them to be quiet. Being quiet means you're not passionate. being active in writing stories or looking at these stories from now on till the fellowship is open. It will help us to fine tune who is the passionate one. So while we are going to open this fellowship, definitely not just for the 3 countries, we'll be expanding it to Bangladesh and to Thailand. We're also looking at Northeast as a major part because Impulse NGO Network, the Press Lab, it all emerged from the Northeast of India.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.